Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, where we discuss all of the news in the world of soccer. My name is Ben Brown. We have an absolutely huge, action-packed show for you planned this week. A lot of great news. We're going to be previewing the African Cup of Nations tournament going on in Gabon. It will be starting this weekend. Look at the group stages, highlight some of the key players, possibly do some predictions. And then next week and the weeks after, while the competition is going on in Africa, we will be updating you with the scores, groups, standout players, and performances from the African Cup of Nations. Basically, if you're not aware of what the AFCON is, think of it as like a Copa America, a European Championships for Africa. So you have 16 of the best countries in Africa representing the AFCON, each playing in an international tournament, 4 teams per group, 4 groups. Top 2 teams from each group advance into the quarterfinals. Then you have semifinals, and you have championships, of course. So that's where we're going to start off our show today. Other things we're going to be talking about, the best FIFA awards are currently going on in Zurich, Switzerland. Kind of a weird name to announce the awards, but it is the first ever award ceremony. All we have literally left to do is announce the Men's Player of the Year and the Women's Player of the Year. So if those 2 awards do break while we are on air, I will obviously update you. The 3 finalists on the men's side are Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, who's actually not at the award ceremony. He's trying to focus on his game on Wednesday, and Antoine Griezmann from France. So those are the 3 finalists on the men's side. We'll obviously talk about who wins it. I think Cristiano Ronaldo will win it. He probably should win it. And if it does break while we were on air, I will be quick to update you as far as what's going on. We'll talk about, at the end of the show, the FIFA World 11. We had a fan vote for the UEFA Team of the Year last week. We'll compare those to this official FIFA World 11 that was announced by FIFA, which is voted on by the players, the coaches, and journalists. So I guess it's got a little more credibility to it. There's still some familiar faces in both of these teams, but we'll talk about who those teams are at the end of the show. Obviously, we've got to update you in the world of soccer within the past week. A lot of games going on within the Premier League. Chelsea hoping to make it 14 in a row against Tottenham, but Dele Alli has other things on his mind. Talk about the Premier League. We had the return of La Liga this weekend, as well as Serie A. We have the return of Ligue 1 in France. That will begin this weekend, so we'll preview that in the end of the show, as well as all the other games coming up this weekend. The winter break is finally over for everything really in the major leagues, except for in Germany. The Bundesliga is still on a break for about 11 more days, so we'll have to save that until next week. But we'll talk about League 1 games upcoming this weekend, as well as update you on the table. It's been a few weeks since they played. Last game was even before Christmas, so have to update you on the table and see just how these teams are faring over in France. So anyways, guys, we will start off the show talking about the African Cup of Nations. The tournament is set to start on Saturday over in Gabon. Talk about some of the teams, some of the players who could come out of each group, and possibly some standout performers and predictions. All right, guys, in Group A, the host nation is Gabon. That's where all the games are playing, and they are obviously the first team in Group A. You look at Gabon, you got to think right away about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. The striker from Borussia Dortmund is from Gabon. Obviously, if they're going to have any sort of success in this tournament, they're going to need a huge tournament out of Aubameyang. He's definitely the key man. They do have another guy named Didier Ndong who currently plays in Sunderland. Not very more familiar names that play for Gabon, but if they're going to have success in this tournament, they're going to need a huge tournament out of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He's got to be that guy. He's got to be that guy that can put the whole entire team on his back and carry them if they're looking at getting far in this tournament. He's got to have that Gareth Bale-esque effect that Gareth Bale has for Wales. Although Wales does have some other capable players like Aaron Ramsey, Joe Allen, Hal Robson-Kanu, he kind of carries them in a way and is really the trigger man and makes sure that all the attention is directed on him so his teammates can get far. That's got to be the exact same mentality Aubameyang has here for Gabon. Because other than Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, maybe Didier Ndong, they don't really have anyone that you've heard of. So they're going to need their big players to step up and get far in this tournament. The other teams in their group are Guinea-Bissau as well as Burkina Faso. To be honest, I don't really know much about these clubs or these nations, I should say. They're definitely, when you look at the predictions here, they're definitely on the down part there, not really expected to get off their group. Who knows? We could see some magic. And then the last team in the group, and in my opinion is the best team here, is Cameroon. Cameroon does have some good players. You will know of Joel Matip, the center back who plays for Liverpool. He's been a little injured for Liverpool, but I think he had this tournament in mind, trying to get ready, wanting to play for Cameroon and get ready for the AFCON. Another player you will remember is Samuel Eto'o. He currently plays over in Turkey. He's a striker, but we've seen him before with Everton as well as Chelsea in the Premier League. A guy who's been very capable of scoring goals before. So Cameroon are a big threat. I think they're the best team in Group A, and I will say they get through into the quarterfinals. And I'll give the other edge to Gabon. I think Gabon could be a really good team, host nation, so they do have the home field advantage there on their side. And in my opinion, they have probably the best player in Africa, and that's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So much pace, always a good shot to just get through the back line and score goals. You look at Group B, 4 teams as well. You have Tunisia, you have Zimbabwe, you have Algeria, and you have Senegal. The 2 favorites to get through in my eyes in this too is definitely Algeria. Algeria is probably, in my eyes, one of the favorites to win this tournament. Think about some of the players they have. They have Islam Slimani up front. He plays for Leicester City. You have Riyad Mahrez as well as Leicester City from Algeria. You have Sofiane Feghouli. You have a lot of great players playing for Algeria. We saw what happened to them in the World Cup a couple of years ago. They pushed Germany into extra time in the knockout stage. So they're definitely capable of making a run. They have a lot of good quality players. I think they're the best team in this group. And then you have to look at the Senegal. They have Sadio Mane from Liverpool. He's having a fantastic year for Liverpool. He's definitely one of their key performers, as well as Koulibaly, who plays for Napoli over in the Italian league, the center back. He had a team of the season sort of year last year for Napoli, a very important player and definitely a rock in their back four for the Senegal. They're definitely one of the favorites to get through. So I'll give the edge to Senegal as well as Algeria. You look at Group C. Group C to me is kind of the toughest group in my eyes. A lot of good teams. You have Morocco, you have Togo, you have Ivory Coast, as well as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So you look at some of these teams in Morocco, you will know of Mehdi Benatia. He's a center back who plays for Juventus. He used to play for Bayern Munich. They would have had Sofiane Boufal. He's a midfielder, a winger who plays for Southampton. Really good on the ball, a lot of good skills from Boufal. But he is going to miss this tournament with an injury. And to me, that's a big loss for Morocco because they're not one of the better nations in soccer. A guy like Boufal, who plays at a top-level club, would definitely be their best player on their team and their best attacking threat. To miss out on him not being in your team through an injury is definitely unfortunate, and it is sort of a bad thing for Morocco. So I will give the edge to the Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is the defending champion of this competition, having won it last year. They have so many great players led by Yaya Toure, Eric Bailly at center back. You have Seydou Doumbia. Perhaps Gervinho comes over from China and plays. So Ivory Coast are definitely the favorite in my eyes. I would expect them to go far in this tournament. So I'm going to say they get through in the first round here in Group C. And I'm going to give the other edge to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They're going to be missing out on Yannick Bolasie, who would be by far their best player, but they do have some other good striking options up front. Bakambu, who plays over in Spain in Villarreal. They have a lot of good players for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So I'm going to give them the edge, as well as Ivory Coast to get through in Group C. I think Morocco just misses out, and then Togo will probably finish last. And you look at Group D, you have Mali, you have Uganda, you have Egypt, and you have Ghana. The two teams I think will get through in this group are Egypt and Ghana. Ghana definitely very good. We've seen them in the World Cup the last couple of times progressing through. They have the Ayew brothers. I mean, they're really, really a good soccer nation is Ghana, really good from Africa. And then you look at Egypt, they have some capable players. They have Mohamed Salah, who to me is by far their best player, plays over for Roma right now in the Italian league. They have Mohamed El Neni, who plays for Arsenal. A lot of good players coming from Switzerland. A lot of players play for Basel from Egypt. So I'll give the edge to Egypt as well as Ghana to get through. As I said, the games do start on Saturday, so next week we'll have to recap on some of the games that have already started, as well as the updated tables for these four groups. I'm really excited to see the African Cup of Nations. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch a lot of it because a lot of the games are over in Africa, which aren't nationally televised here in the United States. But just seeing some highlights, some performances, some ratings of these players, really excited to see what some of the best from Africa can do on an international stage like this, really show out for their nations. If there's one downfall, I hate that it's currently going on in January. I realize in Africa they are below the equator line, so it's summertime in Africa, although it's hot there all the time. I realize it's in January, which is kind of unfortunate because it's right in the middle of the club season. Very important games. A lot of teams going to miss out on a lot of very good, important players. So it's kind of unfortunate it's not during the summertime here in the United States and as well as in Europe in maybe June, July, start of August, and that it's in January because we're in the middle of club season and these guys are leaving their respective clubs to go play for their nations. So it's kind of unfortunate that's the case, but I mean, it is what it is. It is only going to be going on for about a month, so they're not going to miss out on too much of the action, and as well as some of these teams don't progress as far as maybe they would have hoped of, they could obviously have their players return to their club sort of responsibility. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But anyways, that is the AFCON. 4 teams, 4 groups. Really excited to see what happens. It's going on in Gabon starting this weekend. We'll take our first break of the show. After the break, we'll talk about some of the events that have happened in the last week in soccer. Big game on Wednesday in the Premier League between Chelsea and Tottenham. And then we had the return of Serie A and La Liga on Saturday. We'll talk about those and more right after the break at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back in. We have it, guys. We have the Men's Player of the Year Award, the Women's Player of the Year Award, the Coach of the Year Award. These results have been going on all day, but now we have the winners of all of them. The men's one just announced within the last few minutes. I'll save that for last within this opening segment. We'll talk first about the Men's Coach of the Year Award. The award goes to Claudio Ranieri, the Italian manager who manages Leicester City. I'm not real surprised there. He should have won the award. He deserved to win the award after everything he did with Leicester last year. 5,000 to 1 odds to win the Premier League, and Leicester City go on and win the Premier League by 10 points. Not surprised that Ranieri won the award. He deserved the award. He was by far the best coach of the year last year. He beat out Fernando Santos, who manages the Portuguese national team. They won the European Championships. And he beat out Zinedine Zidane, the French manager who manages Real Madrid, led them to the Champions League winning trophy. They're also in first right now in La Liga. Zidane just had his 1-year anniversary as managing the senior level for Real Madrid. In that 1 year, he's lost 2 games. 2! Teams lose 2 games within a week sometimes. This guy has lost 2 games all year in all competitions. He's doing fantastic in his first senior level managing position. Obviously, he has one of the best clubs in the world, but still, he has only allowed them to lose 2 games. There's got to be some sort of an effect there with Zinedine Zidane. It's not just on the players. So I guess you got to give him some sort of credit. But Ranieri wins the best male coach of the year. When you look at the Women's Coach of the Year award, it goes to Sylvia Need. She manages the German national team on the women's side. They won the Olympics last year, the gold medal, so not real surprised that she won it. Obviously, Germany, one of the best soccer nations, not just for men's, but for women's. They're ranked 2nd in the world, so not real surprised there. When you look at the best women's player of the year, the award goes to the United States midfielder Carly Lloyd. And on the men's side, the award winner is the guy I thought would win it, and that's Cristiano Ronaldo from Portugal as well as Real Madrid. This is the inaugural competition, the inaugural award ceremony, the best FIFA player of the year. So this is obviously the inaugural one, so Ronaldo adds to the 2016. He had literally his best season ever, not necessarily statistic-wise, but everything he accomplished. Wins the Champions League, wins the European Championships, wins the Ballon d'Or. Now he wins this. I mean, the guy's an absolute legend. He's one of the best of all time. There's nothing else I can say about Cristiano Ronaldo that already hasn't been said. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. We'll talk about the World 11 as well as the UEFA World 11 at the end of the show. I kind of want to save that, kind of compare the two. So I'll start this segment, transfer. We'll transfer over. Going to be talking about some of the results that have happened within the last week in the world of soccer. We'll end the show with some updates, some games coming up, the World 11s, as well as some mild transfer news. Not too much transfers going on in the winter stage. A lot of loan moves in winter, not really any big names. A lot of the big guys move in summer. So not real surprised that we haven't really heard any explosive fireworks yet, but we'll have to wait and see how things go. All right, guys. So we're starting off in the Premier League, stuff that happened within the past week. We mentioned really in last week's show, we had some games, a lot of games on Monday. Games on Tuesday we didn't get to talk about. Arsenal, Bournemouth, Stoke City, Watford, Crystal Palace, and Swansea. And then the big one on Wednesday was Tottenham against Chelsea. So start off with Tuesday. Arsenal really squandered their shot at a big 3 points here. They go down 3-0 to Bournemouth within the first hour. They escape. They get a 90th minute headed goal from Olivier Giroud to get a 3-3 draw at Vitality Stadium against Bournemouth 3-3. Bournemouth were all over Arsenal the whole entire way. Arsenal really get kind of fortunate to get away with a draw. They were down 3-0. They fight back to get a 3-3 draw. Got to look at it as 2 points drop for Arsenal, though. A team like Bournemouth, who are not a bad side, but to be honest, their best player is Jack Wilshere, who's a loanee from Arsenal, and he couldn't even play in this game since he's on loan. You can't play your old team in the Premier League. So this was definitely 2 points drop for Arsenal. Bad result for Bournemouth. They had a 3-0 lead, but just could not hold on, give up 3 goals within the last 20 minutes for Arsenal to escape with a draw. Stoke City get a 2-0 victory over Watford. Swansea City get a very big 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace. Swansea last in the Premier League going into the game, so they absolutely needed to get a good, big result. The 3 points is huge. Crystal Palace still near the bottom of the table. We'll update that in just a second. And then on Wednesday was the big standalone game. Tottenham at home at White Hart Lane against Chelsea. Tottenham pick up the 2-0 victory. 2 goals from midfielder Dele Alli. Within his last 3 games in the Premier League, he scored 6 goals. He has 2 goals in each of those games. The midfielder is playing fantastic. He's being linked to moves over in China. Reports are that China is offering him over $1 million per week to play in China. Reported transfer rumors are that they're linking Dele Alli with Real Madrid as well as Barcelona. So I don't think Dele Alli's moving anytime soon. He's probably loving life over at Tottenham. but he's only 20 years old. He is pretty young. He's not making a whole lot of money right now. You got to imagine some of these rumors maybe to Chelsea. I'm sorry, not Chelsea, but to China, maybe to Real Madrid, maybe to Barcelona are probably a little tempting for the young kid. I'd have to imagine he's probably taking these rumors a little serious. I have to see what happens. He's been one of Tottenham's best players all year long. And really, 2016, this was obviously in 2017, but 2016 was really the year of Dele Alli for Tottenham. He really broke into that side and is now an absolute rock in there at all times in that midfield. He has to be playing at all times. He's got a great young future ahead of him. Now, when you look at the standings, the table in the Premier League, with Chelsea losing, they were going for win number 14 in a row. They do not get that, so they stop at 13. Still very impressive, still sitting atop the league with 49 points. But Liverpool edged the gap with their 1-1 draw in their last game against Sunderland. They're at 44 points, so they have a 5-point sort of gap, does Chelsea over Liverpool. Tottenham now in third place with 42 points. Manchester City in fourth with 42 as well. Arsenal sit fifth with 41 points. And Manchester United sit sixth with 39 points. So within the top six, it's only separated by 10 points. So the Premier League is getting really, really interesting. I'd say right now it's almost impossible to predict the top four, where teams are going to be placed in there, even who's going to be placed in there. There's really 6 teams in my eyes vying for that top 4 spot, and it's going to get really, really interesting in these last 18 games. Some of the other Premier League teams with standings-wise, Everton are 7th at 30, West Brom 8 at 29, Bournemouth coming in 9th with 25. Then you have Southampton and Stoke 10th and 11th respectively with 24 points. You look at the bottom of the table with that big victory over Crystal Palace. Swansea jump up with 15 points, but they are still in the relegation zone. Hull are bottom with 13, Sunderland with 15, and then Crystal Palace just 1 point away from relegation with 16 points. Sunderland and Swansea, as I said, with 15. So now we had the return of La Liga, as well as the return of Serie A after their small winter breaks. Talk about La Liga first. Espanyol and Deportivo La Coruña get a 1-1 draw on Friday. Real Madrid get a convincing 5-0 victory over Granada. Couple of goals from Cristiano Ronaldo. Isco got a goal. Karim Benzema got a goal. They ran all over Granada. They looked very, very impressive in their first game in a few weeks. Atletico Madrid get a big 2-0 victory over Eibar as they continue to try and work their way up the La Liga table. Las Palmas get a 1-0 victory over Sporting Gijon. Sevilla, a commanding 4-0 victory over Real Sociedad. They absolutely destroyed them. Sevilla now second in La Liga after the result Barcelona had. We'll talk about that in just a sec. On Sunday, Atletico Bilbao and Alaves draw 0-0. Real Betis with a 2-0 victory over Leganes. Celta Vigo pick up a 3-1 victory over Malaga. And then Barcelona and Villarreal play to a 1-1 draw. Nicola Sansone opens up the scoring for Villarreal in the 47th minute. And then Barcelona legend Lionel Messi breaks the hearts of all Villarreal fans with an absolutely stunning, sensational free kick in the 90th minute to salvage 1 point from this game. Honestly, it's a massive point. It's absolutely huge. When you look at the table, Real Madrid, with a victory on Saturday, were 6 points top of Barcelona with a game in hand. Barcelona get the draw, so now Real Madrid have a 5-point lead over Barcelona in the standings, and they still have a game in hand. Real Madrid, 39 consecutive games where they have not lost now. That's one away from a record. They have tied that Barcelona team from 2014, 2015, that Champions League, that treble-winning side. They have tied that for the longest streak at 39. They're looking for 40 next week. They have a 5-point lead over Barcelona in La Liga with a game in hand. So if you count that game in hand, that could honestly mean an 8-point lead. Real Madrid are slowly but surely running away with La Liga. Barcelona get a very unconvincing draw. Despite Lionel Messi magic, they only got 1 point out of that game against Villarreal. No disrespect to Villarreal, they've been a good side. They're 5th in La Liga with 30 points through 17 games. They're playing really well. But Barcelona should be able to win this game. and they dropped 2 more points to Real, and it's not looking good for them right now. So when you look at the La Liga standings, Real Madrid, first place, 40 points through 16 games. Sevilla in at second with 36 points. Barcelona third, 35 points. Atletico Madrid fourth with 31. I mentioned Villarreal fifth with 30. Real Sociedad sits sixth with 29 points. And then Atletico Bilbao seventh with 27. And then you have Las Palmas and Celta Vigo 8 and 9 respectively with 24 points. So Real Madrid, slowly but surely, are running away with La Liga. I honestly do believe that. They're untouchable right now. They're playing fantastic. You move over to Serie A, the Italian league. The return of the Italian league on Saturday. Empoli with a 1-0 victory over Palermo. Napoli pick up a 2-1 victory over Sampdoria. On Sunday, you had Inter Milan with a 2-1 victory over Udinese. Torino and Sassuolo played to a goalless draw. Lazio pick up a 1-0 victory over Crotone. Atalanta with a big 4-1 victory over Chievo. Roma get a 1-0 victory over Genoa. AC Milan with a 1-0 victory over Cagliari. And Juventus pick up a 3-0 victory over Bologna. A couple of goals for Gonzalo Higuain. He's got 12 goals now in in Serie A. He's playing fantastic since moving over from Napoli. You look at the Serie A standings, kind of like La Liga in a way with Real Madrid. Juventus are absolutely running away with the league. They have a 4-point lead with a game in hand over Roma. They have 45 points, Roma with 41. Napoli in third with 38 points. Lazio in fourth with 37. Fifth, AC Milan, 36 points with a game in hand. So if you factor in that game in hand, if it was a victory, they would currently be sitting in third right now in Serie A behind Roma and Juventus. Atalanta in sixth with 35 points. Inter Milan slowly working their way up that leaderboard now. They have 33 points through 19 games. They've been playing a lot better now. Eighth is Torino, 29 points through 19 games. And ninth is Fiorentina, 27 points. So now we're going to take our last break of the show. After the break, we're going to be looking ahead to this weekend within these respective leagues. We have the return of League One, as I mentioned. Definitely very excited to see that. So we'll have our previews of some of those awards next week, as well as the World 11 from UEFA and from FIFA. A little differences in them. Some of them are obviously voted on by the fans. Some of them are actually voted on by journalists. So I'll give a little more credibility to the FIFA World 11. So anyways, we'll talk about these two World 11s right after the break and more at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, guys, welcome back into the show. We're going to start off this segment talking about the UEFA Team of the Year as voted on by the fans. This was released late last week. Some similar guides to the FIFA World 11, which was just released within the last few hours. So this one was voted on by the fans, as I mentioned. They decided to go with 4 center backs, which I'm not really a fan of. I would have loved to have seen 2 center backs and then 2 fullbacks, one on the left side, one on the right side, like a traditional team. This one's a little different. So in at goalie, we have Gigi Buffon of Juventus and Italy. The 4 center backs are Sergio Ramos of Spain as well as Gerard Piqué of Spain. Sergio Ramos playing for Real Madrid, Gerard Piqué playing for Barcelona. Leonardo Bonucci of Italy and Juventus gets in there, as well as Jerome Boateng of Bayern Munich and Germany. You look at the 3 midfielders, they're the same on both. Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, and Andres Iniesta. Luka Modric and Toni Kroos of Real Madrid, Andres Iniesta of Spain, as well as Barcelona. No real surprise there. Look at the 2 wingers on the right side, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo on the left side. No real surprise. And then through the middle, Antoine Griezmann, the striker from Atletico Madrid and France. Kind of surprised he got in there over Luis Suarez, but this was voted on by the fans, as I mentioned, so they could be a little more biased as opposed to some journalists. So, anyways, a lot of players dominating Spain, really, in both of these. You look at this one, all but 3 players playing within Spain, 7 players playing between Real Madrid and Barcelona. The next list gets even worse if you're a fan of those 2 teams because they're all but 2. Okay, so you move over to the FIFA World 11, which was just announced in the last couple hours. In at goalie, you have Manuel Neuer of Germany as well as Bayern Munich, so you don't have Gigi Buffon, so there's one difference. And then they decided to go with a more traditional 4-3-3, which I do like. So at right back, they're going with Dani Alves, who plays for Brazil as well as Juventus, but he spent a lot of his time last year with Barcelona. He was a summer transfer over to Juve, so a lot of his stats from last year and a lot of his play from last year have to be accredited to Barcelona. So you can throw him in for playing for Juventus, but kind of a lot of the season playing for Italy. The 2 center backs are the same, Gerard Piqué and Sergio Ramos. Sergio Ramos has been there for the last few years in a row now. He's absolutely fantastic. Kind of surprised Piqué got there a little bit over some of the other guys. I did think it'd be Ramos as well as Jerome Boateng, but I was definitely wrong in that aspect. At left back, you have Marcelo from Brazil as well as Real Madrid. The three center midfielders I said are the same. Luka Modric of Croatia, Toni Kroos of Germany, Anderson Iniesta of Spain. 2 guys from Real Madrid, 1 guy from Barcelona. And then the front 3, 2 of them are the same, but the striker position is different. Lionel Messi's there. Cristiano Ronaldo's there, obviously the men's player of the year. And then, thank goodness, they included Luis Suarez in there. It's about time Luis Suarez got some recognition. I thought he should have been in this team of the year last year, and he wasn't. Neymar was in there instead of him. Antoine Griezmann gets in the UEFA Team of the Year, so he still doesn't get any love. But obviously now Luis Suarez finally getting some love. Over 50 goals last year. He also led the league in assists in La Liga. Absolutely standout performer for Barcelona yet again in his second year there. He's having another great year this year, and I'm not shocked he's in this team. And honestly, he deserved to be in this team. He's by far the best striker in the world in my eyes. Better than Antoine Griezmann, better than Robert Lewandowski, better than Sergio Aguero. There's no question about it. Luis Suarez, all the credit due to you, my man. Keep playing well. Just stop biting people in the World Cup, and you'll be good to go. I'm happy you were in the World 11, and you honestly deserved it, so congratulations. Now we'll move over, before we end the show, talking about the upcoming games this week within the top leagues around the world. As always, we're going to start with my favorite, the Premier League. Tottenham battle West Brom, fresh off their victory against Chelsea. See how the Spurs do against the Baggies. Swansea City are going to be hosting Arsenal. Arsenal, playing one of the worst teams in the league, is a perfect way to try and get some of their momentum back after that 3-3 draw against Bournemouth. West Ham will battle Crystal Palace. Both teams kind of near the bottom of the table there. Watford will take on Middlesbrough. Sunderland will be playing Stoke City. Burnley will take on Southampton. Hull City will take on Bournemouth. Leicester City will take on Chelsea. So a pretty interesting game there. Leicester being the spoilers within the last couple of weeks, spoiling chances from Manchester City. See if Chelsea can rebound against Leicester, who are definitely going to be shorthanded without Islam Slimani and without Riyad Mahrez playing over in AFCON for Algeria. And you look at Sunday, a couple of games, Everton playing Manchester City and Manchester United taking on Liverpool. Definitely the best matchup of the weekend is Manchester United against Liverpool. Manchester United riding high. They've won 5 games in a row now in the league. A lot more in a row if you look at all their competitions. They smashed Reading on Saturday in the FA Cup 4-0. And then you look at Liverpool. They had a disappointing draw against Sunderland, but they're still second in the league. So we'll have to see if they can recoup without a couple of their top players. They haven't had Joel Matip for the last couple of weeks because of injury, but now they're going to lose out on Sadio Mane on the right side. He's been probably their most consistent player all year long, especially in attacking positions. So without Mane, we'll have to see how Liverpool can do. But it seems like they're going to be getting Philippe Coutinho back, which is a huge, huge addition. He's been out the last couple of months with an ankle injury. I'm sure he'll be implemented right into the starting 11, which to me is not necessarily a great idea because you want to get guys back up to speed with the Premier League, and you're going in against the hottest team in the Premier League right now, Manchester United. So I kind of question that if that's going to be the case, if Jurgen Klopp does that or not. I'll have to wait and see. But he's a very, very important player. and I'd say when healthy, he's probably their best. So I'll have to see how Liverpool do against Manchester United. That's a huge game within the top 6. That will decide a lot of things come May. Now we'll move over to La Liga. Leganes will be battling Atletico Bilbao on Saturday. Barcelona look to get back to their winning ways against Las Palmas. Atletico Madrid will face Real Betis. Deportivo La Coruña will face Villarreal. On Sunday, Valencia will battle Espanyol. Celta Vigo will take on Alaves. Granada will take on Osasuna. Sporting Gijón will take on Eibar. And then a big matchup, 1 and 2 respectively within La Liga. Real Madrid will take on Sevilla. Sevilla is a team that's been giving Real Madrid some fits over the last few years within Spain. So we'll see how Real Madrid battle Sevilla going for their 40th consecutive game where they do not lose. They're going to need a lot of it against Sevilla. They're a very, very good side, and a side second in the league right now, just 4 points back. So if they are able to win that game over Real and give them their first loss of the season, then they'll only be 1 point back, although Real Madrid do have a game in hand, which could be very, very crucial come down the stretch in La Liga. And then on Monday, next week, is Malaga against Real Sociedad. Move over to Serie A in Italy. Only one game on Sunday. I'm sorry, we're looking at just things are a little screwy here. I apologize. So week 20, there we go. So Crotone will battle Bologna. Inter Milan will face Chievo on Saturday. And then a couple of games on Saturday. One on Monday is Torino and AC Milan. And then Sunday is the big, big day in Serie A. So Cagliari will take on Genoa. Lazio will battle Atalanta. Sassuolo will take on Palermo. Udinese will battle Roma. Sampdoria will take on Empoli. Napoli will take on Pescara. And Fiorentina will battle Juventus. Juventus have to see if they can continue their winning ways. Juventus have not drawn one game in Serie A this year. They've played 18 games. They've won 15 of them, and they've lost 3. So they literally have no draws within the league, which is kind of very, very important. They're either dropping 3 points or they're taking all 3. So they're not dropping 2, which I guess you'd rather have a draw than a loss, but because they're constantly winning every week, they're gaining ground on everyone and just pulling away because other teams have draws in there. You look at some of the teams within Serie A. You look at Roma, they have 2 draws. Napoli have 5. Lazio with 4, AC Milan with 3. Those are really the top 5 teams, really only, in my eyes, the real challengers. I really don't think there's any challenger to Juventus anyway, but the 5 teams that have the best shot in my eyes. Definitely Roma. Juventus already beat them. So it's going to be interesting to see. They're going to need a lot of help if anyone's going to chase Juventus. They've already won 5 Serie A titles in a row, moving towards 6. I really don't see how they don't get it done. They're just a top side within the world. Those 2 strikers up front with Paulo Dybala and Gonzalo Higuain are an absolute force to be reckoned with. Their midfield is strong and balanced, and then that back 3 they use between Barzagli, Bonucci, and Chiellini is very, very strong. And then you have, obviously, the legend Gianluigi Buffon in goal. I mean, he just always gets things done. So it's going to be tough to beat Juventus. Even in the Champions League, I mean, they're going to be a tough, tough side. When you move over to France, we have the return of Ligue 1. Very exciting that they are not on break anymore. On Friday, Lille will take on AC. On Saturday is when the majority of the games will be played. It will be Rennes taking on PSG. We will have to see if Julian Draxler will be playing his first game for Paris Saint-Germain since coming over from Wolfsburg. He played in like a scrimmage friendly game last week. He scored a goal on his debut, so kind of a good way to implement yourself into that starting 11 and really battle because they have an absolute ton of midfielders. Marco Verratti, Javier Pastore, Adrien Rabiot. You throw in Julian Draxler in there. Blaise Matuidi. There's a lot of competition in that midfield at PSG. So for Julian Draxler to get some serious playing time and a run in the starting side, he's going to have to continue to play well, and he got off to a good start in his first game. So we'll have to see how they do against Rennes. You have AC Nancy-Lorraine taking on Bastia. Montpellier will take on Dijon. Toulouse will battle Nantes. Angers will take on Bordeaux. Lorient will take on Gincamp. On Sunday, we have the league leaders Nice taking on Metz. We have Caen against Lyon, and Marseille taking on Monaco. So you look at the French league standings. Nice in first place with 42 points. Monaco in second with 42. I'm sorry, Nice with 44, I believe. Monaco 42. You have PSG in third with 39, and then there's a big gap there. Lyon do have a game in hand, but they sit fourth with 39 points. So PSG, even though they've had a very disappointing season, still within striking distance, only 5 points back of Nice, who are top of the table. I mean, PSG are such a good side. They've had a disappointing year, kind of getting adjusted to Unai Emery and sort of his tactics. They bring in Julian Draxler, who's going to be a huge advantage. He's a young player, good with the ball. I got to imagine they're going to find a way to move their way back up the standings. Nice only have one loss through their 19 games. I don't see them doing that within their next 19 games. So I do believe PSG will make their way up the leaderboard and really end at the top by time the season's over. Monaco are obviously a good threat with how many goals they've scored. They've scored 56 just through 19 games. So they're absolutely fantastic going forward. So they're always going to be a threat. But I really got to say, I think that PSG are going to be the team that finishes League One as the champions yet again. Before we end the show, I want to talk just mainly briefly about some transfer rumors. No real big-time deals gone down in the past week. Nathan Ake from Bournemouth, he got his loan move recalled, so he's going back to Chelsea. Antonio Conte is really, really big on trying to get some fullback sort of replacements and reserves because of their 3-4-3 they're currently playing. They're playing with wing-backs. So they have Victor Moses back there right now. But you bring in Nathan Ake, a guy who can play center back as well as right back. So a very good move there, bringing him back from Bournemouth. Kind of unfortunate for Bournemouth. He was playing pretty good, especially in a center back role, but now he's back at Chelsea. Have to see if Jack Wilshere goes back to Arsenal. They could really use a lot of help right now in the midfield. They have Mohamed El-Neni away at the AFCON with Egypt. Francis Coughlin's out 3 to 4 weeks. Santi Cazorla still out with an ankle injury, so they could use some reinforcements. Have to see if they take back Jack Wilshere or not. A lot of rumors flying around about a lot of players, though. No real big-time deals. But people like Morgan Schneiderlin, someone who could be on the move from Manchester United, possibly going to maybe a team like West Brom or Everton. We'll have to monitor that. Memphis Depay has been on rumors, possibly going to Everton. It would make sense. Ronald Koeman is a Dutch manager, and Memphis Depay is a Dutchman. You look at the left side, Yannick Bolasie's out for probably the whole entire year this year, 2017, with an ACL injury. You have Memphis Depay, who could fill that role perfectly because he is a left winger, so that makes a lot of sense there. Dimitri Payet's on Twitter liking possibly a return to Marseille. Someone tweeted that he should just go back to Marseille and make magic again, and he actually liked that tweet on Twitter. So if there's no sort of thought in Payet's mind about going back to Marseille, why would he like a tweet on Twitter? I think players have kind of ruined, when it goes to social media, how fans perceive things. You look at Lionel Messi a few years back. He follows Chelsea on Instagram. He follows Thibaut Courtois on Instagram, who's obviously a Chelsea player. So you assume that maybe he's going to Chelsea. You had Michi Batshuayi follow Chelsea on Twitter before his move there, so we all knew he was going there. So it's like a lot of these guys making all these social media moves, not really a good idea. It's like you're kind of revealing your hand before it's been dealt. West Ham, not a good team this year in the Premier League. About mid-table, halfway down. They're currently 13th. Payet's got to be not happy there, even though given his success with France and West Ham last year, he can't be happy there. So possibly a return to Marseille, which is where West Ham did buy him from, might do him some good. But Payet, he's such a good player. He could go anywhere else. He could go a lot of different places. Why he'd want to go back to Marseille, who were really, really struggling in League One. They're 6th right now, but they really don't have much of a shot. They sold their best player in Steve Mandanda last year, the goalkeeper, so I don't know why he want to go back there. Maybe he has a good relationship with the fans and some of the media members and just the area in general, but have to wait and see what goes there. No real other big moves. Patrice Evra is maybe rumored to go back to Manchester United. He's not really happy at Juventus. You got to imagine Alex Sandro, who plays left back and is kind of as that wing back right now, taking his spot right now, Patrice Evra, and he's not really playing all that well. So you got to imagine he's maybe looking for some playing time, possibly going back to Manchester United, maybe Everton. Have to wait and see what happens with Evra. I really don't expect him to leave in January. I would say he would stay with Juventus. I mean, why wouldn't you? But then again, Paul Pogba leaves Juventus to go to Manchester United again. So It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We'll have to monitor it. We're still kind of early in the winter transfer window. We do have the rest of the month to update you on things that do happen. If anything major breaks, we'll obviously talk about it here on the show, but I really don't expect it to happen. In January, you don't see many of the big moves. A lot of the guys like to leave in summer, which is a start of a new season. Summertime, train with the team all year long as opposed to coming in the middle of the season. So I have to wait and see what happens. But anyways, guys, that's going to end my show for today. Another great episode here at the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Ben Brown. I will see you next week talking all things soccer right here, same time, same place. Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. Goodbye, guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.